Welcome to HackFS. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the HackFS Kickoff. My name is Kartik. I'm one of the co-founders of ETHGlobal, and you may know me as the person who has been emailing you for the last 2 weeks. I am super excited to welcome everybody here for this very first day of HackFS, our month-long hackathon on the protocol labs and the Filecoin ecosystem. And I'm super excited to get this call started. We have over 200 people watching this thing live. A lot of you are on this call from so many different time zones and different times around countries from the world. We have also a lot of people on YouTube and Twitter watching the live stream directly. So I want to thank all of you for being here and taking your morning, afternoons, and evenings with us to learn more about what we have planned for all of you for the next 4 weeks. So HackFS is a collaboration between ETHGlobal and Protocol Labs. ETHGlobal did our first event. That's an online hackathon called Hack Money about 2 months ago. And we had so many amazing things that we learned from doing something online. Largely, we got to learn about how do we actually make our events and these hackathons accessible to more people from all over the world. And not only that, how do we actually set up a process to put all the developers that are out there in a position to get more help and actually perfect and excel in building what they wanted to do originally as they started off with the hackathon. So ETHGlobal, for those of you who are not familiar, is an organization with a simple mission. Our goal is to get as many developers as we can into this Web3 ecosystem. And we do this thing by doing a lot of developer-focused events across the world. So far, we've done 16 events in the past 2.5 years across all continents, where we've had over 11,000 hackers apply to these events and have had over 1,200 projects being built. And people from over 85 countries have physically attended these events. I talked about Hack Money as our first event where we got to learn and make this even more inclusive for developers from all the other countries that we have not been able to do an event in. So as we kind of expand to doing events online and in person, this becomes a perfect spot for us to kick off and make this even more of a better offering for all the developers that are out there. Projects like Gitcoin, CryptoKitties, Side Protocol, Instadap, Ethereum, and 1inch Exchange have been some of the projects that have had their origin stories from our ETHGlobal events. And as we kind of look into all of this, When we initially started our conversation with Protocol Labs about a month ago, this became the perfect opportunity for us to make this a partnership where we actually get to expand both of our missions by broadening the scope of the Web3 ecosystem and merging our communities and bringing the technologies from Protocol Labs and the IPFS ecosystem to the Ethereum world in even a much broader capacity. And today is going to be that kickoff for how we want this to work for all of you here. And I'm super excited to share what we have on board and in the process. So 3 weeks ago, when we launched HackFS, we had announced our intent and we were blown away by the response we got. As of today, we have over 380 hackers that have staked and shared their intent to participate at this hackathon. And these hackers have been already working on over 75 different projects that they've indicated. And we have people from 50 countries and 19 different time zones that are going to be participating over the course of the next 4 weeks. We have people from all these amazing places on this call and also at this event. And I'm so happy to announce that for HackFS, we have people from all the continents participating. And this is absolutely incredible. And not only is it just about the hackers, we also have an amazing set of mentors and judges who are going to be with us for the next month, helping everybody here, not only with technical and support for the Ethereum and the Protocol Labs ecosystem, but also for on various aspects like how do I actually expand and work on my projects and how do I take it to the next level. So we have so much of this planned and we have an amazing sort of set agenda for all of you here. And I'm super excited to go into the details of how that's going to be structured for HackFS. And in addition to all of our mentors and judges, we also have an amazing set of companies that are with us for this event that are going to be helping all of you as hackers and by dedicating their time and their SDKs and their protocols to help ensure that you get to build the best projects out there in the Filecoin and Ethereum ecosystem. So I want to thank all of these sponsors and companies that are participating, and we'll go into a lot of details on how they're going to be helping all of you just a little bit later in this call. So HackFS, I want to give a quick overview of how this call is going to be structured. We have a few things I want to cover in this call. I'm going to be talking about what the next 30 days will look like for all of you participating. We've had a lot of questions come in from how do we actually think about working on an idea or a team. We'll go over what a check-in is and how you can actually get help for the project that you'll be working on, and the prizes you can win as part of working on and participating at this event, and also all the talks, the workshops, and the AMA sessions we have planned for all of you from our sponsors and our mentors. So before I go into all of those details, I want to take the time here to welcome the founder of Protocol Labs, Juan Benet, to give us an overview of Filecoin and the broader ecosystem from Protocol Labs side. He'll go into the details of how this event is going to be structured from their end and covering some of the basics of the technologies that are going to be made available for everybody to use at this event. And then shortly after that, we'll have a welcome from our sponsors, and I'll be going over the details of the logistical information all of you need to know for kicking off and getting started with your hacks. So with that, please welcome Juan from Protocol Labs, and I'll have him share his screen for his talk.
Thanks a lot. Sharing my screen 1 sec. All right. Hopefully you can see that. Let me check out the chat.
We're all set.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with everyone today. I'm super stoked for this whole month. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to spend this time with everyone. I wanted to chat today a little bit about at a high level, why Web3 matters. I was really blown away by the amazing response that we've gotten with HackFS, and have been super excited and proud to see so many people joining us from that don't have a lot of Web3 experience yet, and so that's a really phenomenal thing to see. So I want to kind of go over why Web3 matters a little bit. Then we'll talk about our work in building Web3 and kind of what IPFS and Filecoin are and how they fit together. I'll touch a bit on HackFS and try to give you some pointers, and then we'll touch a little bit on kind of like the next wave of Web3 and kind of what you might how you might fit your work over the next month in HackFS into like the broader landscape. All right, so why Web3 matters. At the end of the day, I think we live in an incredibly unprecedented time. I'm going to try and boil down a very important and meaningful message in a very short number of slides, but it's so important to give, and it's important in terms of the context of Web3 that I can't do without this. So I'm going to talk about why Web3 matters in three parts. One part is I'm going to talk a little bit about computing, then the internet, and then Web3. So in the last 80 years, computing has effectively transformed most of humanity. We have now superpowers that our ancestors would really not distinguish from magic. We can do, you and I can do now, and we are doing right now through this video conference, things that our ancestors would have really never been able to imagine. So it's already the case that we are effectively superhuman in terms of comparing ourselves to humans of the past. And computing has all kinds of technology have contributed to that, but computing is one of the major areas of this and has been accelerating over the last 80 years. And so you can draw a comparison from say 80 years ago to now and just see the dramatic difference in life, not just for an individual human, but for groups and entire nations. What we do today as humans is very, very different. So think of it as billions of humans and trillions of computers live and work together, deeply integrated. Everything you do day to day nowadays, or at least most of what you do, tends to be mediated in some way by computers. Think of all of the activity that you do. Think of your learning, your work, your writing, your messages, how you connect with your loved ones, your friends, all of that kind of communication. Most of it is now mediated by computers. So all your work, all your play, all your relationship keeping, and so on. So more and more what humans do has migrated to the computing medium and is now powered by the internet. And what's extremely amazing about the internet is that it is a software platform that enables us to upgrade our superpowers. So in not just computing hasn't just given us a few superpowers. It has given us the ability to constantly upgrade our superpowers by creating new applications. It's very easy, not just for a large powerful nation, but for a single individual or a small group to create a new superpower and grant that to the rest of humanity. It's an amazing thing that has never been as this is one of the, I think, the remarkable things about our time, the fact that a few people can get together and create a new superpower and give it to the rest of the world. And so we have this amazing upgrading system installed around the planet that more and more people in the world are able to be connected to. Now, most of our communication and most of our interaction is still to this day mediated by screens and keyboards, but that's going to change over the next few decades. All kinds of changes are coming down the pipeline. Things like AR and VR, brain-machine interfaces, and then now computing is starting to get embedded into all kinds of other systems like cars, and we're getting autonomous driving and so on. And the potential, the possibilities of robotics and AI loom in again the kind of decades time scales. So when you think about the last 80 years and how much humanity has changed, and you project the same exact amount of time forward, and you think about what the next 80 years are going to hold, you can think of, you can try to imagine how our lives are going to change, and the lives of all the people that we know are going to change. And it's kind of difficult to really understand what exactly will happen What are the changes that will occur? When will they occur? How will they come about? Will it be a good change? Will it be a bad change? What are the unintended side effects and consequences? All of those kinds of effects will unfold over this next pathway. So a lot of us today will see these changes happening, and then a lot of us today will take part in shaping those changes and changing, setting the direction that the technology takes. So when you think about what to work on, over the next 10 years, perhaps 20 years, just consider that that the computing platforms of today are going to shape the way that humanity operates for many decades to come. And so this is what brings me to Web3. So Web3 is the next iteration of this really fundamental superpower granting machinery. So if you think of the web as this amazing superpower granting system, Web3 is the next iteration of this, which takes the web from being a read-write medium to finally being a trustable medium by adding verifiability. So this is where we imbue a lot of the tech that we use with all kinds of properties, from secure cryptographic protocols to game theoretic equilibria around specific protocols, and a whole host of other good and open governance and so on, to produce systems and protocols that are trustable by default, and are trustable not because you trust some sort of good authority, but trustable because you trust the math, or you trust the actual properties of the system, and you're able to rely on these systems with strong guarantees. And in a sense, Web3 is bringing to the internet a whole host of revisions and improvements that we think are critical and fundamental. Because when you think about how all of our lives have been impacted by computing and the internet and improved, when you start considering how shaky all of the foundations of computing and the internet today are in terms of data security and so on, there's a lot to improve, and there's a lot to make better. So the entire Web3 movement, which I think effectively got kicked off with things like Bitcoin as the first front runner, then Ethereum and IPFS and a whole host of other systems. The whole broader movement is to bring about these kinds of values and these kinds of systems. So things like freedom of speech, freedom of assembly online, being able to control our data, being able to have secure transactions, being able to do so verifiably without central control, and so on. And at the end of the day, Web3 is kind of this combination of blockchain tech with the decentralized web and with linked data. And so this is the whole picture of what is kind of making up Web3. This is my stab at it. Other people have their own perspectives. I'll leave it at that in terms of kind of defining Web3. You can find out more I've given some talks about this in the past. All right, so let's talk a bit about building Web3. I've been super fortunate to work with with an amazing team of people on a number of projects, and we build a number of things around making the decentralized web and Web3 a reality. And we've broken it apart into a number of different projects. So we tend to refactor our things and try to take out the common parts so that other people can use them. So for example, we took the networking stack of IPFS and turned it into a project called Lip2P. This is a modular peer-to-peer stack, and it is now has a whole bunch of adopters across the entire Web3 landscape, and even beyond. Even folks outside of the Web3 world are starting to use Lip2P, and is going to be powering Ethereum 2. It already powers Polkadot. It's going to be powering Filecoin and a whole host of other groups. It also is an amazing example of inter-ecosystem collaboration. We kicked off the initial implementation of Lip2P by extracting it out of IPFS. Then the Parity team built a Rust implementation, and then kind of moved that over to the Web3 Foundation. And then after that, Ethereum 2 adopted Lip2P, and then got 4 other implementations built. So now we have 7 native implementations of this system. This is a really, and there's a whole set of things that we could talk about in terms of Liquid2P, and it's a great source for potential hacks. So check out there was a workshop last week, and there's probably a lot of other people that are excited about talking about this. So check out more about it. So that's the networking layer. On top of that, IPFS brings in the addressing and the content model of the decentralized web. So this means making the web work peer-to-peer. So go from the kind of centralized model of HTTP, where there's a server and a lot of the computers kind of interact directly with that server, making requests for files or images or APIs and so on, and moving that into a fully peer-to-peer model where the application itself and the data and the code that represent the application can float around and move around the network. Anybody can serve you the content as long as they have it, and you have a strong guarantee around the content integrity and so on. This kind of model enables both enables things like censorship resistance, enables verifiability of the content, and it also can even work in an offline setting. So there's ways of deploying IPFS applications such that they work in a kind of disconnected environment without having to talk to the rest of the internet, which is a really, really great place to be. So this is kind of where the interplanetary in IPFS comes from. The full intention at some point to have it working in Mars. So the basic of the model, basic idea of the model is that you map human readable names to directly to the hashes of content, and then distribute those. And so that way, anybody that has that content can serve it to you. There's a large ecosystem of adopters around IPFS. There's a lot of applications using it, more than this screen grab shows. But these are just a few of the folks that we've identified. It's used a lot in the Ethereum ecosystem for all kinds of things. Whenever you need kind of off-chain data, it is very common to address all of it with IPFS and to distribute it that way. Or whenever you need a front end for a dApp. So the typical kind of deployment path is you deploy the contract data that you can't fit in the chain and the front end of an app into IPFS, and then you deploy a contract to Ethereum, and then that's how you kind of interact with the system. But then outside of the blockchain world, there's all kinds of other systems that are using IPFS, including developer tools like container integration. So there's a group, a team at Netflix that is exploring the use for doing container deployments. There are groups trying to do package manager distribution, and now we also have a browser adoption. So we have gotten IPFS into a couple of major browsers, and more to come after that. So these days, it's also now super easy to host and deploy websites and dApps on IPFS, thanks to tools and systems like Fleek. You'll hear more about them later, but this is a very common way of using IPFS, where you deploy your website to IPFS, and then you add a decentralized domain to the website. By the way, happy to report that both ENS and unstoppable domains are easier to use than DNS. So that's an amazing achievement, great place to be. Then you can also build a whole bunch of dynamic apps with tools like Textile. Textile is a group that builds a number of different libraries, so things like buckets and threads and PowerGate. You'll hear more about this later. And there was a workshop last week, and there'll be another workshop, I think, later this week. This is a great way of building all kinds of dynamic applications with IPFS. I'll also give a shout out to OrbitDB as well. It's a whole other different approach to doing dynamic apps with IPFS. And I think there's some amount of synergy here. Also want to point out that most of DeFi is powered by IPFS in some way, whether it's the front end itself or some of the data feeds that people are using. But it's a really nice example of the tooling fitting just right, and it being kind of like an afterthought that, yeah, of course, like the front end would be kind of hosted and distributed by IPFS. And there's also now applications that are reaching a certain level of quality that you would only expect in or that previously you wouldn't expect out of the Web3 ecosystem. So now we're finally reaching really high quality applications that run fully decentralized, run a full protocol, moving around and downloading all of their assets, both the images, the media, the code, and so on, with full IPFS nodes. And a great example of that is Audius, which is a music, a home music protocol and music system. So definitely check that out. It's a really awesome awesome platform, and it's amazing what they've been able to do with deploying IPFS directly to the phone. So if you're interested in hacking on mobile apps, definitely check out what they did. Another great example of that is the Haven and OpenBazaar folks. They also deploy to mobile, and they built an entire marketplace on top of IPFS. So this is a fully peer-to-peer decentralized marketplace. Think of it kind of like eBay, but eBay and Shopify stores on top of IPFS, and they have it all working on mobile as well. And there are other things like Origin Protocol, letting you build stores and deploy those with IPFS and so on. Also worth mentioning that IPFS has been used in a number of humanitarian causes. So this is a really important for us and the whole lot of the folks that work on the stack. This is really putting to the test the kind of the why for Web3. At the end of the day, the tooling and the tech that we're building is establishing certain kind of security properties in the network that kind of raise some of the bars in what it's like to deploy and push out content to the rest of the world. So definitely, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, definitely check it out. There's a lot of information around the web on both the distributed Wikipedia mirror that made all of Wikipedia be able to move around the IPFS network, or how it was used in other cases. Also, super happy to report, like which I think is one of the reasons we wanted to host this hackathon is we are seeing the usage of IPFS growing tremendously over kind of every year, and this year we're reaching a pretty significant level of traffic, both in the gateway that we run and just in general in the broader network. And I think the recent adoption by significant browsers enabling IPFS content means that now is a great time for applications to really kind of go fully IPFS native, and then be able to work on a whole host of browsers. Also has been great to see just a large ecosystem of businesses develop around IPFS and around the idea of pinning and distributing IPFS content and doing all kinds of other services. So you'll hear more about these folks later, but it's been great to see the ecosystem flourish. So that brings me to Falcon, which is the last project I'm going to talk to you about. And this is trying to address one of the key questions that IPFS left open. IPFS talks about addressing and moving around the data, but it doesn't force any kind of storing of the content or anything like that. It kind of leaves it up to either services or businesses or collaborations to try and back up stuff together. So Filecoin is a protocol for building a decentralized storage market that enables just programs to be able to hire storage using cryptocurrency and nothing else. So today, if you want to hire storage on the internet, you effectively have to be a human or an organization and have a credit card. This should be way easier. So the goal of Filecoin is to build a decentralized, efficient, and robust foundation for humanity's information. There's a lot embedded in that. It includes thinking about the moats that surround cloud storage and being able to create a model for anybody to be able to contribute storage and work together to build a network, to really being able to find and leverage any kind of cost reduction in the surface. And so the kind of vision of Filecoin is to be able to build a network where instead of a few big players dominating the storage landscape, we have a large network with a lot of parties and an open market where anybody can contribute open storage. And so we're building the kind of network where anybody, wherever they are, can plug in additional storage and be able to kind of join and serve data. Think of it as a kind of two-sided market where there are clients and service providers or miners, and the clients who want to store data select from a set of miners and kind of offer a contract and then pick a set of miners to store the data. And then on their turn, miners, once they agree to a contract and are now storing the data, will have to prove over time that they are indeed storing the data. So this is the verifiability component, and it's a very important piece where Falcon automatically checks and verifies the data is being kept around, and otherwise enforces penalties. And then in terms of retrieval, as a second step, once parties want to retrieve the data, being able to select from any party that has the content and to get it as fast as possible is a really, really nice property that we're aiming to achieve, where ideally you can build a kind of self-scaling CDN where any party that has the content can serve it to you. And so that means that there might be agents on the network that are observing traffic and are observing some amount of requests, and then can decide to speculatively move content to certain regions and start serving it from there. So we want to see we want to see what happens to the CDN world once you make it an algorithmic trading kind of thing. So really aiming to build a large-scale network like this and really enable anybody to bring storage and turn what is now a very a cloud that only 3 or 4 really large players are able to control and provide for the world, and really create a decentralized and robust infrastructure that anybody can participate in. So what does it look like today? So we're in the kind of later stages of the protocol. We're aiming to deploy mainnet in the coming months, and we're in the process of building out the sides of the market. So primarily we're focusing on the storage market, and I'll show some of the slides on that. The retrieval market, which is kind of that auto-scaling CDN area, is much less developed, and that's potentially a great area for hacks. We're in the home stretch to get to the mainnet, and so this is one of the goals of having this hackathon for us was to now take all the tech that we've been building for quite a while and put it in your hands and see what you build with it, and along the way see what we can improve and whatnot. So in the spirit, want to highlight just like the vast amounts of storage that we are pulling together. So these are actual photos of the storage facilities of a whole bunch of miners that are amassing storage to put it on Filecoin, and you can look at these on the web. And there's one in particular that built a really awesome video that gives you a tour of the entire facility, and they may have in the hundreds of petabytes to potentially an exabyte. So this is the kind of staggering scale that we're talking about. This is way beyond all of the current data storage of Web3. And in our testnet, which is so that's kind of like registered. It's kind of like what miners have been saying. In the testnet where we verify the storage, we have we resetted I think a couple weeks ago, and now we've amassed 19 petabytes of storage. So there's 19 petabytes of storage just sitting there right now doing nothing that you can use to be able to store a whole bunch of stuff in. So kind of beyond that, beyond kind of the mining side, there's a whole ecosystem blossoming with groups building different kinds of applications, companies being set up to either do mining or building services around it. There's a whole set of folks building wallets and custodian services and so on. There's now 4 work in progress implementations of the protocol, and there's a lot of libraries and documentation being written. And there's a large number of Falcon communities around the world that are springing up. And really wanted to highlight a few tools that are in development now. So one of them is PowerGate. I think a lot of you may be building on it during this hackathon. Definitely check it out. Another is Falcon Discover, where we're pulling together a whole bunch of really important data and then providing a pathway for that data to reach miners. So think of it a whole bunch of really critical, important, valuable data sets, amassing them, processing them, and sending them to miners. Turns out that once you want to ship petabytes of data, you really shouldn't be using the internet. You got to move it around and ship it physically. So we have that entire pipeline set up. And if anybody's interested in doing something like this or dealing with large amounts of data, definitely reach out, because a lot of the tooling that we built is there for you to play with. And there are also really exciting applications like Starling, which are creating a really important kind of verifiable trace of parties storing information that is extremely important to hold. So for example, working with groups like the USC Shoah Foundation or others to gather really critical and important testimonial video and records, and really make sure that parties are preserving it long term. So this is really critical data that must be around, where the verifiability trace is something that no other cloud really provides. And then there are tools like Slate, which are now bringing kind of the idea of Filecoin and the kind of command line view of Filecoin into a beautiful user interface that people can play around with. So definitely check this out. All of this is open source, so you can, if you're trying to build a UI or certain UI components, look at this. So in reality, where we are is that we've built the rocket and it's kind of laying in the hangar. We're like running putting the finishing touches and testing a whole bunch of things. And pretty soon we're going to be standing it up and then launching it. And so this is kind of the pathway to that. And this is why we wanted to host a set of events around it, in particularly HackFS, to now put all of this tech in your hands and see what you can do with it. Great. So finishing up. So you already know all about HackFS, so won't say more about there. But I'll definitely recommend you check out the learning resources. There's a lot of really useful and valuable links that we're going to be collecting here. This will be very helpful for you along the way. Definitely use chat and ask all kinds of questions to folks. Leverage office hours and workshops. We are preparing a whole bunch of content for you. Definitely go to those workshops or watch them. There's also a lot of links being passed around for workshops that have been done in the past and recorded. Definitely check those out as well, because they're really useful as well. And really encourage you to use chat and talk to us if you get stuck with anything. Definitely ask questions. Whatever we can do to help you get unstuck quickly, the better it'll go for you and for the entire hack. From the Protocol Labs folks, these are the ones highlighted on the website, and there's a whole bunch of others that are just on Slack, so you can ping any of us or ping us on chat in general. But these are a number of folks that can help out. And now some quick advice. Really encourage you to dive in and experiment. So really learn a lot, explore, brainstorm and explore a bunch of things, and really use the first week to do that. Try out all kinds of different areas of the protocols, play around with different tools, and then try to aim for finding an MVP relatively quickly. And then once you have a rough idea of that MVP, then get into prototyping mode, kind of end to end. There's all kinds of really good resources out there. And if you're not familiar with doing this, definitely ask on chat, and we can point you to good resources of how to go from, hey, I have an idea, to here's an MVP that I've planned out, to then here's a prototype, and now I'm iterating with that prototype. And really, can't stress this enough, get help. Don't let yourself stay blocked. Tons of amazing things get built in hackathons, and usually I think the teams that manage to do that are extremely good at just keeping the momentum going and moving forward and making progress. And so really get help from other folks. And last but not least, really have fun. At the end of the day, this event is a hackathon. Hackathons are extremely fun. We are of course not able to be in the same place, but we hope this is going to be a really, really amazing experience for everyone, and so really enjoy it. So yeah, really kind of visualize this kind of thing while you're hacking on things. All right, I think given timing, I'll cut this part really short, which is just want to flash and give you the idea that when you think about the blockchain in the last few years, in 2009, it seemed like Bitcoin was amazing and it couldn't really be improved, or maybe people thought it could be improved, but everyone's just really stoked with it. By 2012, the pain points were really, really clear, and Ethereum came in to radically improve all kinds of things. And then from there, this amazing ecosystem sprang sprang out where all kinds of systems and applications got built by just improving a few of the key characteristics of Bitcoin. And so going to a much faster transaction time, going to a much better programming language, going to a much better programming model, and building much better developer tooling just enabled massive amount of applications and systems to be built. And now we're seeing the same kind of thing happening where now kind of ETH1, everybody's feeling the pain points, we're seeing the issues, and now a whole host of new systems and applications new blockchains are being built to kind of address those problems and those pain points, including Ethereum too. And so really, pay attention to these characteristics and their improvement rates. What's going to happen over the next, with the tech that's being developed now and over the next year, is going to create another wave, kind of like this one, with all kinds of new applications and systems. And so this is going to be an extremely, extremely powerful wave. So when you think of all of these systems that are getting launched and deployed over this year and next year, this is going to be, radically transform the entire Web3 landscape. And finally, I think start hitting in much larger scales, kind of the Web2 landscape as well. So really getting to, 10xing or 100xing the transaction per second throughput of blockchains, or really enabling the storage of, exabytes level of data. That's when Web3 can finally be able to kind of contend with Web2. And so it's going to be a massive wave, but you've got to start paddling now. So I think this wave will really hit kind of in 2021 at some point. And so if you want to build an application and be part of that large move, you got to start building now and in the next few months. Great. So that's all from me. Thank you so much. And I'll hand it over back to Kartik.
Thank you so much. This was absolutely incredible. It actually ends up summarizing a lot of points I was going to make. But to kind of echo what Juan just said, I think this is perfectly the right time and that inflection point for a lot of this thing to be utilized by all of us, so we can quickly test this out. We actually can develop the right abstractions and the tools we need to make higher level applications that everybody would find useful. And more interestingly, this is kind of the goal here, which is how do we make seamless apps that provide value and the end user doesn't notice anything behind the scenes in terms of trade-offs or speed, whether that's speed or flexibility on what they can and cannot do. So HackFS and just generally the IPFS and the protocol labs and the Falcon ecosystem at the pace they're at will really be the kind of the goal from our side to help accelerate that to be ready for prime time. And interestingly, a lot of the projects that were just talked about in this talk are here for this event to help us accelerate our development for the hackathon projects. And I know some of you have already kind of heard about these companies, but I want to quickly give a shout out to all of the companies and that are here as our sponsors. Of course, Protocol Labs, when we have Unstoppable Domains, we have Textile, Fleek, Consensys, Infura, Unlock Protocol. We also have MetaMask, Ceramic Network, The Graph, Pinata, 3Box, the Ethereum Foundation, Equilibrium, OrbitDB, IPFS Main, and ENS, who will be here with us throughout this entire event, helping everybody here with anything that's technical around their protocols and SDKs and the IPFS and Falcon ecosystem, but also just generally to help you with any technical questions that you may have about getting your project ready. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have some of our sponsors come on and share a bit about themselves and why they're excited to participate at HackFS, and also talk about a handful of prizes that they're offering. And with that, I'd like to call up first Brett from Fleek, who is going to go over what Fleek is and how they're planning on making this an awesome event for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Awesome talk, Juan. Thanks for handing it over. Yeah, so my name is Brett Shear. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Fleek. We are a modern web development platform built on top of IPFS. We have a few different products you can use during this hackathon to make your development life easier on top of IPFS. We have our hosting product, the storage product, and then our just very recently announced Space Daemon. So I'll cover those pretty quickly. We could go to the next slide. Yeah. So Juan mentioned hosting your front end of your dApp. and he mentioned Fleek as an option. So yeah, we're the easiest way, a few clicks to get your application, your web app, your front end hosted on IPFS. You just connect your GitHub, set your build settings, and click deploy. It's that simple. We also detect any frameworks you might be using, if it's a Create React app or Hugo site or whatever other static sites you might use. It's very, very quick deployment, and we have a built-in CDN that makes it really performant, as well as a bunch of other features like SSL certs. You can connect ENS domains directly through the UI really easily, and some other stuff as well. So the prize for using Fleek hosting is going to be $100 to 10 teams. So all you have to do is just use the hosting product to host your site or the front end of your app, and we'll be looking out for that and handing out prizes for that. And here's some resources. So we have a bunch of documentation on how to use it. We have blog posts for like every single type of static site you might use, as well as YouTube videos that you can watch that walk you through it. It's a pretty simple process. This is the Fleek storage. So this is a really easy and performant way to store your files on IPFS. So images, videos, etc. We have a web app UI as well as Fleek.js. The UI, you can visualize and see all the folders, all the files, the IPFS hashes of those, and like download them, just a UI to manage it, kind of like a sort of Amazon S3 type UI. And then we also have the Fleek.js library, which is a really easy to use JavaScript library that you can import into your project, and has a lot of different methods for just pinning, uploading, fetching files really simply. So that also has a built-in CDN, has image compression and resizing, so that fetching the files, uploading files is extremely quick. So for that, just for using that in your product, in your projects or your teams as well, we'll be giving out $100 to 10 teams for the prize. And then here's a bunch of resources. We have a lot of documentation on the storage. We have documentation around the Fleek.js library, blog posts, how to use it. We also have YouTube tutorials on that will go through each of the different methods and how to get set up really easily. And then just very recently released is the Space daemon. So this is a JavaScript client and library that makes it very easy to develop peer-to-peer and privacy-focused apps. It's packages together IPFS, Textile, and into like one daemon that's very easy to install and download, so that you can kind of get going building apps for different types of use cases really easily on top of them. So we've exposed like a JavaScript library that has this daemon already built into it, so that it's just a set of methods that are really easy to use, that are pretty much like built around the use cases of like being able to store files privately, sharing files selectively, so like, you know, peer-to-peer directly to one other person, or creating teams and having them between teams, those kind of use cases, as well as like an application interface, so that, like, for instance, you could have an app store files like in the user space, like user controlled data, interacting with applications. So we'll definitely be around and we'll be helping out with this. And we're also giving a workshop on this. So this is something we just released, and we're actually using it ourselves to build an app right now. So that app will be announced like fairly soon. And yeah, so we'll be around. We'll be giving workshops for that as well. The prize for this is $3,000 to first place team. So yeah, a bunch of resources. It's completely open source. Here's a GitHub repo to the client, which has like, and then all the documentation is on our docs page, where you can see all the different methods available you can use to get set up and build the peer-to-peer privacy-focused apps really easily. And then our blog post we just put out. So yeah, we'll be giving a workshop on that Wednesday at 10:30 on the daemon, on the Space daemon. And you can find us around. We'll be on Slack, and we'll be in the Slack answering questions. We'll have office hours and everything. So thanks so much. Really excited for the hackathon.
Thank you so much, Brett. I'm also proud to announce that hackfs.com itself is also hosted on Fleek, and it is indeed as easy as he mentions. Next up, we have Brad from Unstoppable Domains, and I'll let Brad talk about why they're excited to be at HackFS.
All right, thanks a bunch for putting everything together. So I'm Brad, I'm co-founder at Unstoppable Domains. We're building onboarding tools for the decentralized web. And we built 2 blockchain domain registries. One is .crypto, which is on Ethereum, a registrar called unstoppabledomains.com, and we're also building tools for non-technical users to launch IPFS websites. I think we've had more than 15,000 websites launched in the past few months on IPFS using our tools. And these are, again, non-technical users. So we've got 2 prizes. One is, so we just built a chat protocol that we're calling dChat, which is built on a peer-to-peer network and uses blockchain domains as usernames. And so our first prize is $4,000 to build a decentralized chat protocol on IPFS. So you could use ThreadsDB, OrbitDB, I just saw Textile flash there, good timing, or other decentralized DB tech. It must use IPFS. You must have a working chat app with like a Web3 Connect where you're going to be signing in, signing a message with your private key that controls the domain name in order to do sign in. And it needs to work for both .crypto and .eth. So that's our big prize, peer-to-peer chat. The second one is another $4,000 prize pool for launching cool IPFS websites. We'll give you, so there's 3 prizes here that we're going to split. We'll give you a free .crypto domain too. And we're looking for interesting apps like DAOs, content with paywall, decentralized Reddit, etc. We'll be doing a technical talk on Wednesday. We have all of this information, including links to technical information in our doc. So please reach out. And if you have other ideas, also let us know. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much, Brad. Next up, we have Andrew from Textile, and I'll let Andrew tell a little bit about what Textile is to everybody.
Hello, HackFS. Super excited to be here. Yeah, so we're sponsoring a bunch of different prizes. If you've followed us for a while, you know that we're huge fans of IPFS and Filecoin, and so we really just want to help you build awesome things. So one of the big areas that we're going to focus on this month is the Powergate. And so we had a workshop on the Powergate last week. It's recorded on a video, so you can go review that. But we have 2 prizes of $1,000 for the best apps that build on the Powergate. If you didn't make the talk about the Powergate is a really powerful API that wraps Filecoin and IPFS for app developers and people building systems where they want to do management of data sets on Filecoin, but make that data available and fast and do deal management and stuff in a very specific way. And so definitely check that out. I think it can power a lot of different apps and use cases, and a bunch of people are already building on it. So 2 $1,000 prizes there. We're also going to have a workshop tomorrow evening my time on Textile's technologies called buckets and threads. So threads are decentralized databases. They're for moving your metadata, user information around in an encrypted and user-owned way. They're meant to be interoperable data sets for IPFS dynamic data sets. And buckets are a technology that allows you to move dynamic folders of data around. And they're highly interoperable, and you can create a bucket that all buckets have IPNS addresses. You can change the data in them, and they'll constantly be updating your IPFS hash addresses for the data. They also get HTTP endpoints. We provide websites for buckets that you create, and we just launched encrypted versions of those too. And what's really cool is you as a developer can use these technologies, but you can also hand them over to your users of your app so that your users can own buckets and threads. And so we're going to have a workshop on those things tomorrow. We'll also show you some really cool things that you'll, as a special HackFS audience, you'll be able to take advantage of some buckets, meet Powergate, meet Filecoin APIs that we're not making available publicly yet. But so we have 3 prizes of $500 each for just best uses of buckets and best uses of threads. So if you're building dynamic apps, if you're just trying to host data on IPFS, these are great for you just to get going. There's Go clients, JavaScript clients, APIs, everything you can imagine. And then the next 3 prizes are just specific kinds of apps. React Native app, we have a $500 prize for best React Native app that uses the Textile libraries or APIs, another $500 prize for the best browser app, and then a $500 prize for the best desktop app. And we definitely encourage people to try to double dip in there and take as many as they can. Use the Power Gate, use buckets, and create a React app, and you can get a lot of prizes. So, and then we're just here to help. I'm with my team, Aaron, Ignacio, Sander, and the world famous Carson Farmer, just here to help you. So if you have any problems with IPFS or using Filecoin or Textile, find us on Slack and annoy us and just send us a lot of questions, because we're here to help as much as we can. And yeah, good luck hacking.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And lastly, we have Gabe from Consensys.
Awesome. Solid lineup. Hi, everyone. This is Gabriel Anderson. I'm the managing director of Tachyon. Tachyon is a 12-week accelerator program to bring to market the best Web3 technologies. We're part of Consensys, which I would assume most people know, but Consensys is a market-leading blockchain technology company. We're dedicated to transforming the world's digital architecture into more open, inclusive, and secure internet of value, something that Juan alluded to that we would all call the Web 3.0. We actually have 2 divisions to Consensys. The first is our world-class Ethereum software technology arm, and the second is our venture capital firm. Both are dedicated to building the infrastructure, the applications, and the practices that enable a decentralized world. Since 2014, Consensys has incubated and invested in over 100 companies across the Ethereum ecosystem, including some of the pillars that all of you use day in and day out, like Infura, MetaMask, Truffle Suite, Pegasus, and 3box. We're really excited to be a part of HackFS. I think we came out of the Ethereum community and continue to build and support within the Ethereum community. So we've got representatives from our software side of our business, our developer relations community, and also our ventures arm here to support you guys. So come and find us on Slack, reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you, especially as you start hacking. You'll see us holding workshops, demoing some new versions of our software. I believe Jacob from the MetaMask team is going to be demoing V8 of MetaMask. And so that's really exciting. And then we've got a number of special announcements that we're going to be making over the course of the next 30 days. But I think more importantly, we're just really excited to see what amazing things get built by all of you and support you as we collectively work to make our vision of Web3 become reality and really transform the world for the better. We're extremely, extremely bullish on the overlap of Ethereum and IPFS Filecoin. And I think events like these are just really important for us to help bring forth that vision and that we all share. So we're excited to see what you guys build and good luck out there hacking.
Thank you so much, Gabe. I want to echo the same sentiment. We're super excited to make sure that both ecosystems get to collaborate even at a more deeper level. And I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody makes at the end. So those were just some of our sponsors, but that's not all of them. So what I actually want to do is just go over some of the prizes and also repeat some of the prizes that the last 4 sponsors have also set out, and just kind of quickly go over them and make sure that everybody here is quickly aware of what these prizes are. So as we mentioned, or as Brett mentioned, for Fleek, there's $5,000 worth of prizes that are available for using Fleek storage or hosting or the space daemon. Next up, we have Textile, where you have $5,000 in prizes for using PowerGate or using Textile Bucket or ThreadsDB, and also creating a React Native app or a browser or any other desktop apps through Textile. As Brad talked about for Unstoppable, we have $8,000 worth of prizes available for using and building the decentralized chat API and making an app on top of chat, and then also for a novel.crypto domain website. Next up, we actually have the Ethereum Foundation, where we have $20,000 in prizes for the best use and the improvement and implementation of any ETH2 and libp2p related hack. There's going to be a lot more documentation available on Slack and also on our prizes page. This is also an opportunity for everybody to get the latest update on what's happening with each two. And then also for two other categories that we'll be doing this thing with the Ethereum Foundations, and that is an app that helps reinforce the goal of differential privacy, and also a decentralized social media application. And from looking at a lot of the applications from all of our hackers, I'm sure this one will be an easy one for a lot of you to hit. Next up, we have 3box, and there was $3,000 available in prizes for the best use of the 3box API, or for using a cross-app chat box, or creating a new DeFi leaderboard using the 3box protocols and SDKs. Then we have $1,000 from the Pinata team for the best use of using Pinata Cloud. And then we also have $2,000 up for grabs from the Graph protocol for using and creating a new subgraph on the Ethereum ecosystem and using that in your hack. And lastly, there's $50,000 worth of prizes available for this event, thanks to the generous support of Protocol Labs. And this amount will be divided into the best use of apps that are building on top of Filecoin, testnet or mainnet, and the tools and services around the Filecoin ecosystem. And then, of course, overlapping them with the best use of IPFS and libp2p and the general tools around this ecosystem. And there's also a few more prizes that we're working on finalizing the details for from the state channels, MetaMask, Infura, and the ENS team. And a lot of that will be available over the next couple of days to everybody attending. If you want to find out more about the criteria and these prizes in general, you can just head over to hackfs.com/prizes, and you'll see the page with all these prizes that I just talked about and more immediately. Now, we got just a little bit of time left, and want to just quickly go over through some of the logistics for this event. The first and the most important part here is that all communication will be on Slack from here on. Slack is the place to be here. Everybody who has staked and applied for this event is already on, or should be on, the Slack channel from our side. You would have been invited by the ETHGlobal team to join the Slack. A reminder that these are private channels for the participants. So if you have not been added to this Slack, please email us or message us on the ETHGlobal team or the Protocol Lab Slack for us to add you to these channels, so you can see everything that's going on with respect to all the other teams, the events and the talks and the workshops, and just mentor support. And we'll be able to set you up immediately. Because all of this thing is asynchronous, Slack will be our main point of contact and communication for the rest of this event. There's also dedicated mentor and sponsor channels to help you be unblocked from any issues you may be facing. So you'll be able to reach out to specific companies and also mentors directly through the HackFS channels. Now, to answer this really quickly, how does this hackathon actually work? The general rule and the setup here is that the hackathon officially kicks off today. And what that means is that as of right now, you can start coding and you can start building everything you talked about in your application. And we're super excited to see what you'll kind of all build. And the quick note on building a project for this event is that you can obviously work on teams. And if you are working on a team can be up to 5 people. And the only rule here is that your hack must be new and must begin during the course of this event, which means from now for the next 4 weeks. This is in place to make sure that everything is fair for everybody else that's also competing. And even though you are free to use any open source library or work that is available for anybody to use, we just want to make sure that nobody is immediately expanding on, just extending the previous work they've done and presenting that over the course of this event to our judges. So a lot of you have already emailed us about some of the edge cases or some of the gray areas of where you may fall in. To those of you who've emailed that, we would have already clarified and answered them back to you. But if you think you are in a position where you're not sure if your hack is going to be considered new or a built on to a previous work, just message us again on Slack or email, and we'll be able to clarify that and address that for you. And generally speaking, a lot of us are here from the Ethereum ecosystem, and a lot of us are here from the Filecoin and the IPFS ecosystem. And the most common question we got is, how do I actually make sure that what I'm doing is okay for this event? And the check for that is simple. We want this thing to be a very inclusive event. So if your hack interacts with Filecoin, IPFS, Lib2P, or any of the broader Ethereum and the Protocol Labs ecosystem, you are qualified to work on your projects for this event. And a lot of you have already asked us, what does it mean for my Ethereum or my dApp to be compatible with the IPFS and the Filecoin ecosystem? We actually have a lot of content and workshops available for that. And as of actually this morning, we also have a scaffold repo that you'll be able to quickly use to quickly get started with deploying your dApp or any smart contract and integrating that with the IPFS ecosystem. And of course, through the use of the Textile and PowerGate, you'll be able to also deploy these things directly to Filecoin. And we have a lot of that coming up over the next few days through our workshops and our messages and communications to you on Slack. So if you think you still have any questions about how to use and integrate this thing with the IPFS ecosystem, we're here to help and ask and answer any questions that you have for us. And then lastly, a lot of you also asked us about what does it mean to do a check-in and how does staking work. So the quick answer on that is the check-ins are here for us to make sure that you are not blocked in accomplishing your goals. So the way this is going to be structured is that over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be setting up a check-in with every team that'll happen at least once a week. And the check-in is very simple. It's just for us to understand how the project has been going since last we chatted. And if you're stuck on anything, and if you are, how do we actually make sure that you are not blocked, or if or you get the help you need, whether it's anything technical or any advice or feedback from our mentors or our sponsors or anybody else in this ecosystem. This is an opportunity for us to connect you with any people that may be able to help you quickly accomplish your goal and be unblocked. And we'll be doing these things asynchronously on Slack. We'll reach out to you. The ETHGlobal team will reach out to each of the teams participating and just quickly do this weekly check-in they are super short and behave like stand-ups. And this helps us ensure that everything is on track for all of us, and also that you're getting all the help you need. And as a result, after you are responding to all of your check-ins, this is kind of all you have to do to confirm and qualify for your stake to be returned. And any other additional questions can be addressed by us on Slack. And a lot of you are still in the phases of figuring out what you might want to hack on, or you're looking for other teammates. So the good news on that is that we've already set up a lot of these channels on the attendee Slack, where you can go to HFS, find a team, and look for other people who are looking for other teammates, and kind of talk to them about the skills you have and the complementary skills you're looking to get for your idea. But also go and introduce yourself in the intros channel and tell us about what you're excited about, what you're working on, where you're from. We want to learn as much as we can about you to help you succeed at this event. And also for the people who are looking for ideas, but have a team or are looking to actually think about what is it that you want to work on and is worth working on. We have an ideas channel set up as well, where a lot of our mentors, the global team, and all the other hackers are contributing different ideas that we think will be cool, that have the best of both from the Ethereum and the Filecoin ecosystem. And of course, if you are still looking for a team, a lot of you have indicated on the application that you're looking for teammates. We did a brainstorming session just last week, but there's also going to be a session on matchmaking and finding other teammates this Wednesday, and you'll be able to kind of join that call and find other teammates if you're still in a position to get additional members for your team. And of course, I know I've said the word team a lot, and we've talked about how teams and ideas work, but there's no requirement for you to work on a team. It is totally okay for you to hack solo. We want this thing to be a place where you feel comfortable with building and learning about what you want to do here. So obviously, it is a lot easier to hack on things when you have a few people you can share the workload with, but it's totally okay for you to work and submit something on your own. And of course, if you're looking for ideas still, we also made this really cool document which you can find on hackfs.com/ideas, and you'll see all the top ideas we think are just super cool to work on that take in into account all the different themes, whether it's an audio or video related hack, whether it's mining or networking, or just really cool dApps that we think would be cool to integrate with DeFi and other smart contract related applications. And lastly, the event is 4 weeks. So today is the 6th of July, and submissions for all the event or the hacks will be due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on the 6th of August. So we'll be following up with a lot of you on how the submission works over the next couple of weeks and also through your check-ins. But I want to just put this up easily as a reminder that 4 weeks from now is when all the hacks are going to be due. And to just give you a quick update on what the next 4 weeks will look like, of course, everything will be asynchronous, so you are free to work on your own schedule. But we have this event broken down into 4 weeks and a week 5, where the 5th week is about going through all the judging after the submissions end at the end of week 4. But this week we have obviously this kickoff call. We'll have a team formation session that I talked about to find more, to have all of you find other teammates. That's going to be on Wednesday. And we have a lot of workshops and office hours for all of the teams here and the hackers here. And these things basically work as an opportunity for you to talk to our sponsors and just the protocol labs and the Ethereum teams to just get help on anything you have questions about, whether they're anything informal or just you have any questions about how something can work or would work, or is something even possible. You can just kind of hop onto a call and quickly ask a question and then hop out. And then the workshops will work as a way for you to have a more structured way of learning. And then we have the same workshops and office hours repeat. Just the office hours repeat every week. And there are also going to be feedback sessions and AMAs with a lot of the founders and the people in this ecosystem. And everything that's going to be happening here over the course of the month will be recorded and made available for everybody to watch. So if you are not in a position to come online and watch them live, whether it's a time zone issue or you have a conflict, you can just go over to hackfs.com and simply watch the video directly on YouTube. So a lot of you who said you were not able to join week 0 talks, all of them are already available on the website. So just head over to hackfs.com and you can click on any of the schedule items and just watch that recording immediately. And then of course, what you can also do is go to hackfs.com/calendar, and this will open up a Google Calendar link, which you can subscribe to. So you can have all these events with the Zoom links and all the other direct times and links to joining these calls available and sync directly to your own calendar through this link. And we'll be announcing all these things on Slack as well. So lastly, what I want to really do is emphasize that this is a 4-week-long event. So we want you to really pace yourself. We don't want this thing to be exhaustive. We want this to be actually fun for you. We don't want this thing to seem like work. This is, again, an opportunity for all of us to experiment and learn more about what is possible and what else we can do here to take this to the next level. So don't burn yourself in doing this. This is very much about having fun and learning and understanding what is and isn't possible with the technologies that we have available to us. So make sure that you are hacking responsibly. And again, this is very much designed to be a learning experience for all of us. So take advantage of these workshops and office hours and try to get a really good understanding of how these things are being structured and what we're thinking about as we design these tools for the future. So if you have any other questions, we have a long list of FAQs and answers already from the common things we hear over emails set up on a doc, and you can head over to hackfs.com/hacker, and this should address 80% of the things that you want to know about already. And everything else that we haven't addressed, please feel free to message us on Slack or email, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. And lastly, I want to just emphasize that we have a good code of conduct that we want to follow for this event. And this is in addition to the Protocol Labs code of conduct. And to find out more of how the code of conduct is structured, you can just go to ETHGlobal.co/rules, and you'll see the code of conduct and the rules for participating at this event. But to summarize, please be respectful to everybody out there that is participating in this event, and just in general to these Slack communities. And harassment and abuse are never tolerated in any capacity. So if you think somebody is acting the way they shouldn't, please let anybody from the ETHGlobal team know, and we'll take immediate action to rectify the situation. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being with us, and I want to wish everybody a happy hacking, and we'll see you all on Slack. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and looking forward to hacking with all of you for HackFS. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.